Well, bore da pawb. Sut ydych chi y bore yma? How are you all today? Well, before Joseph tells me off again, we've got to start with our good morning song. Barod. Bore da, sut o'i ti, bendigedig, bore da. And I hope you are feeling fantastic, because we've got a dinosaur book today, and I'm going to read this dinosaur book especially for my friend Evan, who's a little bit dinosaur mad, and it's called Tyrannosaurus Drip. There it is, and it's by one of our favourite authors in Dosbarth Enfys, which is Julia Donaldson, who also wrote the Gruffalo, and the illustrator is David Roberts. Now look at this down here, look at these. Look at all these bones and skeletons. And look at these are the nasty dinosaurs in it. Okay, let's get started. An egg. Now that's quite important because, well, I won't give anything away, you'll see why now. In a swamp beside a river, where the land was thick with veg, lived a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs who roamed the water's edge. And they hooted up with rivers, and they hooted up with reeds, and they hooted up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds. Oh, they look nice and sweet, don't they? Nice and calm. Now, across the rushy river, on a hill the other side, lived a mean Tyrannosaurus with his grim and grisly bride, and they shouted up with hunting, and they shouted up with war, and they shouted up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur. Oh, look at them. They're looking a little bit shocked there. But the two Tyrannosauruses, so grisly, mean and grim, couldn't catch the duck-billed dinosaurs because they couldn't swim, and they muttered down with water, and they muttered down with wet, and they muttered, what a shame that bridges aren't invented yet. And look at all these bones. Oh no. Now, a little no, Miss Richards got to really get a thinking cap on here. Now, a little Sognathus. I struggle a little bit with dinosaur names, but for short we'll call her Comp, thank goodness for that, found a duckbill egg and stole it from a nest beside the swamp. And she swam with it and ran with it and murmured, clevered me. And won't the baby Comps be thrilled with duckbill egg for... Look, the dinosaur has stepped on her tail. Tee! She dropped the egg in terror and went running for her life from the mean Tyrannosaurus and his grim and grisly wife. And the duckbill egg went rolling, and at last it came to rest in, of all unlikely places, the Tyrannosaurus nest. Now the mother T had great big jaws and great enormous legs, but her brain was rather little, and she couldn't count her eggs. And she sang, "Hatch out, my terrors, with your scaly little tails, and your spiky little toothies, and your scary little nails." Now then, these dinosaurs here, they are meat eaters. They're carnivores. And can you see? They've got powerful teeth, haven't they? But they said their brains were really small, not like our brains, because our brains in Dosbarth Enfys, well, we've been growing our brains, haven't we, by doing lots of challenges. I don't think they've been doing our challenges. Out hatched babies 1 and 2, as perfect as could be. But Mother T was horrified by baby number 3, and she grumbled, "He looks weedy," and she grumbled, "He looks weak," and she grumbled, "What long arms, and look, his mouth is like a beak." "He just needs feeding up," said Dad, and gave the babe some meat. The first 2 gulped and guzzled, but the third refused to eat. And he said, "I'm really sorry," and he said, "I simply can't," and he said, "This meat looks horrible, I'd rather eat a plant." Now, he's a herbivore. He only eats plants. He doesn't eat meat. Now, lots of humans, we're omnivores because we can eat meat and plants. But not him. He doesn't want to eat that meat. He likes the plants. "A plant?" yelled Mum in horror, and Dad said, "Get a grip." sisters found a name for him, Tyrannosaurus Drip. And they shouted, "Up with hunting!" And they shouted, "Up with war!" And they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!" Poor Tyrannosaurus Drip tried hard to sing along, but the others yelled, "You silly Drip, you've got the words all wrong." For he hooted, "Down with hunting!" And he hooted, "Down with war!" And he hooted, "Down with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!" Drip's sisters soon grew big enough to hunt with Dad and Mum, but they turned on Drip and told him, "You're not fierce enough to come." And he cried, "They've gone without me." And he cried, "Alack a day." And he cried, "This doesn't feel like home. I'm going to run away." "O, edrychwch, mae'n drist iawn." So he ran off to the river, where he saw a lovely sight. A herd of duck-billed dinosaurs all hooting with delight. And they hooted up with rivers, and they hooted up with reeds, and they hooted up with bellyfuls of juicy water reeds. As he stood there on the bank, a sudden urge took hold of him, and he jumped into the river and discovered he could swim. And the duckbills came to meet him by the rushy river's edge, and they hooted, "Nice to meet you," and they hooted, "Have some veg." And Drip, who was delighted that they hadn't run away, ate bellyfuls of water weeds and played with them all day. Then he gazed into the river and he asked them, "Who, oh who? Is that creature in the water?" And they laughed and said, "It's you." He was with the wrong dinosaurs, wasn't he? That night the lightning crackled, and a storm blew down a tree, and it fell across the river, and the tees cried out, "Yippee!" And they shouted up with hunting, and they shouted up with war, and they shouted up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur. Oh no. They're looking a little bit scared now, because this is going to fall across here and make a bridge. And what can they do then? They'll be able to cross over and eat these duck-billed dinosaurs. Drip's sister stood onto the bridge, but then began to frown, for there in front of them stood Drip, who yelled, "Look out! Look down!" And they looked into the water, and they each let out a yelp, and one cried, "Water snakes!" and the other one cried, "Help!" It's only their reflection, isn't it? But they don't know, because they haven't seen themselves in the water before, because they can't swim, so they're afraid of water. Their mother scolded nonsense, and she joined them on the tree. Then she looked into the water and exclaimed, "Goodness gracious me!" The three of them stood trembling, and Dad said, "Get a grip! You're all of you as drippy as Tyrannosaurus Drip." He strode onto the bridge and scoffed, "I bet there's nothing there." Then he looked into the water, and he jumped into the air. Because look how scary he looks in the water, his reflection. And how the duckbills hooted when he landed with a crash, and the tree bridge broke, and 4 Tyrannosauruses went splash. And spluttering and clinging to the branches of the tree, they went whooshing down a waterfall and all the way to sea. And the duckbills hooted happily. They hooted, "Hip, hip, hip! Hooray for the heroic one and only duck-bill Drip." Oh, look. So in the end, he was reunited with his proper family, wasn't he? He wasn't with these mean old dinosaurs. He was back with his proper family. I love that story. And I think we read that one just before we broke up. Now then, over the next 2 weeks, it's going to be the Easter holidays. But every day this week, I'm going to do some Easter crafts. So make sure you are saving the middles of the toilet rolls, because we're going to do some crafts with those. And if you've got some yellow paper or some yellow paint, get it ready. Okay, because we've got some nice Easter crafts coming up. Right then, especially for Joseph, because he tells me off otherwise. And big kisses mwah, mwah, to Dosbath Envis, because you've all been sharing some lovely, lovely pictures on Seesaw. And every time I see you with smiley faces, it makes me really happy. Barod, Hwyl fawr ffrindiau, hwyl fawr ffrindiau, hwyl fawr ffrindiau, mae'n amser dweud hwyl fawr. Twralwra bantynni, 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 twralwra bantynni, mae'n amser dweud hwyl fawr, hwyl fawr. See you tomorrow.